Hello and welcome to another New Dogma audio situation. It is Sunday-ish seance. It's not actually Sunday. It is Monday. It's a long weekend, a bank holiday weekend, as they say over the Atlantic. This is Andrew. I'm here with Grant and Mitch. How are you guys doing?
Good, all right.
Living life.
I mean, that's all really that we can ask for, right? Some days it's just living La Vida, Sunday seance, right?
Yeah.
Mitch, I like how we rhyme that like we planned it. Doing all right, doing all right, living life.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that was nice. We didn't plan that. That's good. That's good.
Grant just says we didn't plan that.
So obviously the game that we're going to be talking about today, ad nauseum, the 2-1 win away to Union Omaha. And before we get into that, a special message from, we put a lot of money into this thing, so we might as well use it. Here we go.
Hello, this is NDZ Bot with a special message. Fuck Union Omaha. Thank you.
She's just so polite. I mean, you can't not include her perspective.
It's an important perspective to have. I mean, and when you're that polite, it's hard not to bring it onto the show. It counterbalances us.
Yeah.
You know. So,
she really classes up the joint.
yeah.
Even the bots hate Omaha. It's crazy.
Well, they are called artificial intelligence for a reason.
True.
So yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the game. Madison ends up scoring first. Aiden Macias's, I believe, first goal for the club. On a nice little step over, a shimmy, a shake, and then just blasting it past Rashid Nuhu, who had a bad night. Let's put it that way. I think probably his worst night in a Union Omaha shirt. Arguably, obviously, we didn't put 3 goals past him, but I've never seen Rashid Nuhu get a 5.3 rating on FOTMob.
No,
He has not done great recently. It's arguable. I think it's his worst game against us. I think he's had some not great games recently. I mean, despite the penalty save, giving up 3 goals to Chattanooga. I don't know, not with that team. So Omaha may be seeing the end of their days of a dominant keeper. And
what do you think's contributing to that, Mitch?
I don't know. Maybe it's just the whole team sucks. Maybe it's their coach that sucks. Maybe it's a lot of things. There's a lot of things it could be.
So let's talk about kind of where, before we get into how our guys played, let's talk a little bit about Omaha and the run of games that they were on coming into this match. They had played 3 games in 7 days, this being the third, and in the previous 2 scored and conceded 6 goals combined across those 2 games. The commentator for this game said multiple times that Omaha changed their tactics or their formation for this game. I don't know that it is exactly true, though. It did look like it to me, like they were really trying to stack the midfield.
Yeah.
So they changed their formation for this game to a 3-5-2. And again, the commentator kept mentioning that it was to meet Madison and help clog the midfield, which is what Madison would do. Especially you're going to do that on this fucking stupid tiny ass pitch that they play on. We'll get into that in a little bit because I want to fucking rant about that for a little while because it's 100% just a cost savings measure.
No doubt.
So before we get into that though, and I'm going to add Kyle Carr in to the stream because we all know how Kyle feels about a back 3. But before we get into that, I want to play some audio from a Ford Madison fan after the NoCo game finished in the Flock end.
I don't like the formation. 5 at the back, trying to win the league is never going to happen. That's for teams that relegate themselves. So the one game I went to where we went 4 at the back, it looked like we actually had a chance. And ever since then, we went back to 5.
So, Kyle, we know you have feelings about the back three, about this sort of 3-5-2 with rotating double sixes and double tens. Do you agree with Derek? I believe it was Derek Callahan who I interviewed after the game. Do you agree with that? Do you think it was a good move for Omaha to try to match our formation?
It doesn't make sense why they did that. And I think the biggest reason was the first time these two teams met, it was clear that Madison's midfield was able to kind of dictate things and run the show more frequently than with Omaha's. And I think the other aspect is Omaha does not have that much width in their squad. So them trying to play more through the middle, it makes sense to try and go with that three in the back. But I think, and you kind of saw, like, Omaha did have the majority of possession. They did have the majority of passes. They looked more threatening in attack than they did the first time these two teams played. But I think the issue was, and I think this is more of a testament for what Fort Madison's doing, is they had to adjust to Fort Madison because Fort Madison was more capable. And with having the Zima out there was still that threat of a counter. And that's something that, we didn't see last year, and having center backs that are a little bit better on the ball, having someone like Cello who is able to try and break the press on his own. Omaha was definitely trying to be more on the front foot. I think they had better chances, but they didn't convert it. I mean, with all the corners, I think you kind of noticed they were still trying to go through the middle because they didn't have much width. And I think that played into Madison's hands, because then you're trying to go through the middle where you have Cello, you have the Cias, and then you still have those three center backs. I still don't love the three in the back, but right now for Madison's, at least, the purpose of the three in the back is you don't want to have the other team create a lot of clear-cut chances. And this season, Fort Madison has done a good job at that. So why Omaha decided to do it, I don't know. Maybe because they knew defensively as well. They had shipped in 6 goals their past 2 games, so maybe they're trying to tighten things up on the defensive side, which you can say was successful.
You're muted, Andrew.
I was trying to ask Grant and Mitch, what do you guys make of that?
Go ahead, Mitch.
I think that this is a coach who is in over his head. Dominic Casiato, I don't think he's necessarily a bad coach, but I don't think he's coached professionally before this, like at a head coaching level. He was an assistant coach with El Paso. And he's throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. And I think that the biggest issue that they have right now with the pitch that they have is that he doesn't know how to handle this pitch. J Mims did. J Mims put the best team that he could on the field that they have. That was a home field advantage that they had in Omaha for that crappy ass field that they got. They had a home field advantage. They don't have a home field advantage anymore because they don't know how to play on it, because their coach doesn't know how to coach with it.
Wow. I feel like Richard Nixon coming up after John F. Kennedy here. I'm going to echo a lot of the same things that have been said. I think it's indicative of probably more of like where the club and the franchise is as a whole. I think that there's been a lot of, there's a lot of things that are questions right now for this franchise in terms of like getting a new stadium. You've got elements of the fan base arguing with each other, or calling each other out. And then you've got the play on the field. And so right now it's not a good thing. It's not happy times in Omaha, I would say. They're struggling a little bit, and that's all I need to say about that. And so, but no, I think that what Mitch is saying. I think this coach has really struggled trying to figure out how am I going to put a team on the pitch that's going to be the best version of the club that we can play, using the field that we use, because this was definitely a different team than the team that we saw play when we went to Omaha, and they were playing at the University of Omaha or Nebraska Omaha, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
this was a different team. And just the way that their approach, the way that they didn't look as dangerous as that other one did. And so interesting game, as we'll get into. I mean, it's not like it didn't seem like we, dominated the game. But we did enough. And so I think that says probably more than anything that usually it takes a pretty good effort on our end to beat Omaha. This was not our best game, and we still got to win. So,
well, one of the things I was going to mention, and I think this is probably one of the biggest things, is that coach came in late. Like, we have to remember that, and it's hard to get the roster and the style when you come in late, like he did, and same with Chattanooga. We're seeing that as well. Like, they don't have a plan, and it's not like this is completely his roster.
And we had some elements of that. We had some elements of that last year with Matt. Matt got here. We met a little bit late in the season last year, and so.
Well, and I think that's the biggest thing. It's hard to come in late when you don't have the full roster that you want. You're kind of just inheriting whatever pieces are there. And I mean, J Mims left like right before Christmas, and that's really late to try and hit the ground running. You pretty much have to like come in, and your preseason training starts like 2 months later. So I think there is that aspect of it. And like I said, Chattanooga's going through the same struggle as well. So he's got to figure it out. But I think the biggest thing that we saw with Madison, I'm sure you guys will talk about, is the game management was just so much better. Yeah, they were able to kind of keep their heads. They cleared the ball when they needed to clear the ball instead of trying to play it out the back. Most of the time, they were able to just get rid of it. Most of the time, they're able to position themselves to draw fouls, to draw free kicks. They dealt with all the corners that kept happening presented by Modello really, really well. So I think the game management for Madison was also spot on. You're not playing your best, but you managed the game. You did what you needed to. You got the 2 goals. You got 3 shots on target. You're efficient. Like, sometimes you just got to smash and grab.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I love that we got 2 goals on 3 shots.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So some of the stats around this, we were outshot 21-3, and all 3 were on target, 2 of which went in.
The first 2.
Ruthless efficiency.
It feels good to be on the end of that stat.
Yeah.
1 shot in the first half went in the net. 2 shots in the second half. The first one went in the net.
Yeah. I mean, it does feel good to be on the other end of that because Mitch, you were kind of posting, I think, on Twitter about that of like, look, it's not that unheard of. It's just that we are usually on the other side of it and not capitalizing on the chances we're creating. I
legitimately had remembered a game against Tucson where I was like, we were in Tucson and we outshot Tucson heavily and we lost the game. And I'm like, was it 2021? I checked 2021 and the one game that we had in Tucson, it was a draw and we outshot them 21-8.
It frequently happened in Tucson.
Yeah, I would have said
and then I was
I think it happened in 2022, Mitch. So
I'm pretty sure that we actually lost that game. And so I went back the previous year, so 2020, and we had lost 2-1 and been outshot 21, or we had outshot them 21-6.
Yeah, and that's the one I was thinking about.
Even 2019, I think we outshot them by more than 10 and drew. Like the first 3 games that we had in Tucson ever, I think we outshot them by something like 35 to 40 shots, something like that in 3 games. And we came out of there with 2 draws and a loss. So nice that the shoe's on the other foot.
You're muted, buddy.
Andrew.
Kyle, you joked about this, but Omaha did have 10 corners in this game. We had, I believe, 1. Again, I think the interesting thing, this was the first time that we've seen a game at Warner Park that wasn't entirely transition. They did try to, it was largely a midfield battle, at least in my opinion, which is not usual for that tiny ass fucking pitch. Like, seriously. Like, we get it. You're playing at a baseball stadium. You got to take up the smallest amount of real estate possible in order to not mess up the rest of the baseball stadium. But come on, like they literally have their pitch the smallest it can be made to still comply with FIFA regulations.
Yeah.
But it just makes for a terrible fucking game. And like,
You think that pitch is 70 feet wide? No fucking way.
There's no
yeah,
way.
I mean,
I
They're
think
getting
if you're
waivers.
not
If it
including
is-
the sideline, no.
Yeah,
If you're
I was
including
just saying,
the
if it
sidelines-
is, it's exactly 70.
No.
Like
No
it's not
way.
there's
No,
there's
like
not
the actual pitch itself, no. But if you include like the sideline, like the coaches area, I think that's where they're getting the 70.
yeah. They're finding a workaround somehow to make that pitch legal, because you watch it on television and it's like all you have to do is you just if you pull up a side, like how you can pull up like the side screen of two different games of that game, of a game in Omaha and a game on a regular sized pitch, it's blatantly obvious on a television broadcast,
right.
which is hard to do, you know. So
My brother legit thought the camera was just that zoomed in to make it look like it was that. I was like, no, that's just normal.
no, the
That's
pitch isn't
not-
that small. Yeah.
It might as well
It is
be
like
a
that.
fucking BattleBots arena. Like it's comical.
All right, I'm gonna drop off because I have to get ready to head out to a cookout. So
Yeah, you go for it, man. Thanks for calling in, Kyle.
no problem.
See ya. We're gonna welcome in John Lowry, friend of NDZ, regular Flock End, Capo, Stalwart, etc. How are you, John?
Doing all right. Just lazy morning on Memorial Day, getting out on the lake later in the day, in the afternoon.
So
Nice.
John, did you almost get hit by a PT Cruiser on Saturday night?
Yep. Yeah. No. Literally that. That intersection immediately by like the B cycle stops right outside the stadium, like Mifflin and Livingston or whatever that is. Yeah, right there. I was going through on my skateboard and I'm looking at the car and he's still at the line and he's not moving. I'm most of the way through the intersection. He starts moving. I'm looking at the guy. He's still coming at me. And luckily I had the promotional White Claw fanny pack loosely gripped in my hand. Throw that at the driver's side. But yeah, didn't get hit. Did almost get hit. But like, I don't know how you end up with like a 2005 soft top convertible PT Cruiser in Wisconsin in 2023.
I was gonna say they still make PT Cruisers, but
They
Oh
don't.
god, no! This thing's ancient.
Yeah. This is perhaps the worst car, the most embarrassing car to get hit by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Pontiac Aztec would have been bad too.
Yeah, it's
Ford
one of those
Fiesta.
two. It's one of those two.
Yeah.
John, first question for you. Talking about Macias's goal against the run of play. It's not often that we in previous years have gotten goals against the run of play. But he does a couple step overs, bends it around a defender and beats Nuhu. How important do you think that's something new that the personnel that Matt's brought in are just better at scoring on counterattacks or like against the run of play in general?
I don't know if it's on counterattacks, but I want to say it's in tight spaces almost that we're better. Like I noticed it at the first it was either the DePaul scrimmage or something else preseason that we had access to, that seeing Macias and Jaden and a lot of those guys who trained over in Europe, they were just very good in tight spaces. And when, a couple guys are trying to pick it from them, they can still hold on to it and make a positive move. And that you kind of saw that there, that Macias gets the ball, he takes the guy on, he gets the step over, he makes enough space. It's not a lot. And then that's all it took to get a good clean shot at it. So,
Mitch, you'll know this. Is Aiden left-footed?
I don't know offhand.
I think it because he hit it with his left foot, and the way he hit it, it looked like that's his natural foot. But
I wouldn't doubt if he could hit that with his right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt if he's left-footed, but kid's quality.
yeah,
It might catch the defender off guard a little bit if you get the step over, you're expecting him to take one more step to get on his right, and he just hits it, right?
yeah.
Let's talk about Omaha's goal, because that was the next goal that occurred in the game. Deflected off of Derek Gebhard from Omaha's right flank, just out of reach of Osmond. Ball skips across the goal mouth, and Shaft Brewer, who, to my knowledge, still does not have any sort of tifo or song named after him. Unsurprising from the Omaha fan base, the 50 of them.
You're damn right.
And Shaft is waiting far post, and no one's picked him up, and he beats Shipman. I think it was sort of it caught two deflections going across goal mouth. Unfortunate, but do you think somebody should have picked him up at that far post?
You would hope so, but I think the deflections change that. Is because I think that you get a deflection, and the thing happens when there's a deflection, you tend to scramble because you're trying to just scramble to where the ball you think is going to go, and so to get two of them, I think, it's just. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you have this just chaotic thing that's happening. You get two deflections, and then you've got a guy at the back post who probably isn't normally there. He's a defender. Yeah. He just made a run, And I still think Bernd could have saved that ball. I still think he could have saved that ball. But...
and I'll give credit to Brewer too for having, the cognizance to know we're in a deflection, because that's one of the things, like, as a defender, you're kind of taught is like when it's in the box and there's a deflection, go in, it's like, because that's a chaos situation, and you may find yourself standing alone at the far post, which sure enough, there he was, and like Mitch said, he was smart enough to make the run, and he was there. But I also thought Barron could have made the save too, but
that's not to say that Barron had a bad game. I feel like he had another couple of crucial saves in this game.
Yeah.
He was
solid like usual.
I will be the first to admit, I felt like I was not impressed with him in his first couple of games, his first couple of outings for the club. But he's really stepped up big time. And I mean, he doesn't really have a backup that's like really kind of nipping at his heels and forcing him to play well. He's just getting in these solid performances on a regular basis. I can't be the only one that was sort of skeptical, especially after watching his first couple of games. What have you guys made of his overall contribution this season?
I think arguably he's the best keeper in the league. I think you have to consider that with the saves that he's made, with how our defense is played. Because I mean, let's be real, and this is something that I don't think is talked about enough, is that we probably should not be giving up as many shots as we do, and as like him being near the top of the league in saves is not necessarily a good thing. Now, there's something to be said about the quality of shots that guys are taking. If they're low quality, then, saves are easy.
Right.
A lot of the saves he's been making have been difficult. I mean, there's a reason he's won save of the week 3 times already.
Yeah.
And I think it's telling, he's got, I think he has the lowest, or he has the highest save percentage in the league. I think he has one of the lowest goals against averages in the league. Like, he comes to play pretty much every game, and he's a calming presence, and he does what needs to get done. He's up there with the Austin Packs, and who else is up there right now for at the top of League One? You're looking at Pack, and then what?
The guy from Richmond.
Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald always there, yeah.
Amal Knight.
He's been good.
I mean,
and the thing too about
he's been fantastic.
He has, and I think the thing that you would read the scouting reports on him and everything like that. The thing that people would say was his bugaboo was his lateral movement, and that's been nothing but tremendous. I mean, obviously you save penalty kicks as well as you do, as he's done this year, your lateral movement's pretty good.
Yeah.
And so so he's been checking off the boxes of everything. And like you said, I think, he was maybe a little, just, I wouldn't even say shaky. I think it was just nerves, being in a new environment, and being the guy, and being there. And I think now that he's kind of settled in and figured out what his place on this club is and what his role is, he's able to, kind of be that calming presence that Matt wanted him to be. And why he brought him in was that calming presence that he talked about. And so I think I would agree with Mitch. He's been nothing but impressive and is, in the argument for the best keeper in the league. So.
Yeah, I mean, he's been killing it. He's, kept us in games where we easily could have been in a worse spot. I still have heart attacks at least twice a game, probably, with some of the play out the back, some of those passes that look. I think we're going to get burned on one of those over the course of the year, but part of being a modern keeper is going out and claiming stuff with your feet and playing the ball with your feet. So, yeah, you just have to hope that over the course of the year that the benefits you get from that outweigh the one or two mistakes that ends up eventually going to be, right? So.
One of the other players I wanted to kind of mention, because we saw a sort of extended shift for Nazim Bartman, who's just back in, still kind of coming back in after injury. One of the things I noticed in this game especially is that our counter and just generally our attacking incisiveness is much more potent with him in the 11.
Absolutely.
Constantly making runs, drawing defenders along, even if he's not going to be the recipient for the ball. But it's one of the things that I saw repeatedly happen is him just making a darting run and, pulling a defender or two along with him and creating space for his teammates.
That's a huge role in the game of soccer, is having a guy that's making those dummy runs, just keeping the defense on their heels and not knowing where the attack is coming from. Though you hate those guys. They just run nonstop. They're fast, they're quick, they're strong, and they just drive defenses crazy. And I think you're exactly right. We just look so much more dangerous when Zemo is in the attack, just doing what he does. And is not a guy, he's one of those guys that does not need to be scoring goals up front in order for his impact to be felt. Yeah, completely agree. Great to see him back out there. And, obviously being one of the vets and one of the guys that, players look up to, it's great to have him on the pitch as well. And, not just in the locker room. And so very happy for him. Very happy for Zemo. So.
He did come up with a knock near the end. Hopefully he is okay.
Yeah, I wondered if that was more like man management and him kind of going to ground to slow momentum down and buy some time. But
is that when Francis came in too?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that might have been part of it too, is they wanted to get Francis some time. Because he's rounding back into form too. So yeah, I think it was more of a game management thing. But yeah, I hope he's good.
Speaking of Nazim, what the fuck did he get a yellow card for? There was a whole stoppage where Matt was arguing with the center ref about this, and I still don't know, and it wasn't clear. He was nowhere near part of the play that was happening at the time, so it didn't make sense to me. Did you guys catch anything? Was there anything on social media about it?
No.
I mean, the ref was. I don't want to say the ref was. The ref was just bad, just generally bad.
My favorite part about that sequence, because there was a long sequence with that yellow card.
Yeah.
So there was the yellow card, and then they had the free kick immediately afterwards, and right after the free kick, you can see the linesman holding their flag up at the near the corner flag for 10 seconds of play. The ref does not turn and look at that ref the entire time, then goes over to argue with Matt for a solid minute or so. Then the fourth official has to come over to the ref, point to the linesman, be like, hey, this guy had his flag up for a solid while. You need to go talk to him. Finally goes over to talk to the linesman, and we get an offsides call or goal kick, one of the two. Just like, just very questionable. Like, what's going on here? Like, you're too busy arguing with the coach to go to actually call the game. Which I'm shocked Matt didn't get a yellow. As an aside, I'm shocked he didn't get a yellow.
I think that's why Nazim got a yellow. I think he said something to the lino or to the ref or something, and that's why he got a card. Because watching the game, I didn't see anything that he did that would have warranted a yellow card.
Yeah.
And in that circumstance, the only thing I can come up with is he said something. Like he might have said something.
I think overall, I agree with Mitch. I think the refereeing again was terrible. It's like fucking, it is an inevitability with USL 1 and pro referees.
It's more of a story if we do one of these and we're talking about how good the refing is. Like, it's just a known thing. They're going to be shit.
I would like to say that the reffing is not the reason why we won or why Omaha lost.
No.
Because that needs to be said. That needs to be said. Parliament, it ain't the ref's fault. It's your own damn fault.
Yeah. How about you? They're still salty about Cheney's last goal, though, which we can talk about now.
Going the other way, kind of talking about them, I couldn't make sense of why their player Willis was cautioned in the 78th minute. No reason. Nazim goes to ground after running into Dolabella, and Willis just walks over to the ref and is shown the yellow card. Didn't say anything, wasn't near the ball, wasn't near any part of the play. He doesn't touch Bartman, doesn't do anything. I was fucking stymied as to like why he was shown a yellow card.
It was either they showed a yellow to the wrong guy or he did something earlier.
Yeah.
It has to be one of those two. I
have no faith in these referees to like remember anything.
Yeah.
Zero faith. It's just like, what's that call? Well, it's a USL ref making the call. Oh, okay.
I feel like this ref had his like blood flow like restricted by how tight his hair was wound back with his ponytail. Like, I don't know any other excuse that you can give him because it was bad.
I did notice the ponytail. It's not often you get the ponytail on a referee. Grant, what's the over under on whether that guy's just hiding a huge ass bald spot on the back of his head with a bunch of hair tied back?
Oh, dude, it's way on the over. I mean, there's the dudes that can pull off a ponytail. They don't do it.
Yeah.
They just don't do it. If you're pulling off the ponytail, there's a reason why you're trying to do it. So
yeah. Speaking of bad actors, Dolabella spent so much of this game on the ground. I found it comical.
He had in the first half, he had 3 very obvious flops.
One of the funniest bits for me is 45 like 2 minutes after the 45-minute mark, he tries spinning around Moro and just falls over, grabbing his face. Cattivo attore, which means bad actor in Italian.
And the entirety of the pavilion boos. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ref, call that. That's one of the few things the ref actually did well was not calling Dolabella's shit.
Yep.
I mean, and on Cheney's goal, he was in the play too. And, and they were upset about that. I'm like, that is a clear situation of a 50-50. And your guy just got beat.
Yeah.
I mean, Cheney just wanted the ball. That's what happens.
Dolabella needs to work more on his offense and a little less on his acting. I want to put this as an aside right now, just because we talked about the shots earlier. There were 5 Union Omaha players with 2 shots. Pedro Dolabella, Connor Doyle, Luis Gil, Noe Mesa, JP Skiers. They had between them a total of 16 shots, one of them on target. That was Noe Mesa's really weak shot after getting in behind the defense in the first half that Barons, he was just there because
he covered it up.
I got nothing on it. They had 1 shot on target, 7 off target, and 8 blocked. And these are 5 of your best offensive players who didn't do anything.
There's your problem.
And if you want to throw in your center striker, which is a combination of Joe Gallardo and Steven Dos Santos, they had they combined for 1 shot, and it was blocked. So between 6 of your best offensive players, you had 17 shots and you had 1 on target.
But it was the refs.
Fuck.
But it's the refs, Mitch.
The refs.
Oh yeah, the refs. Yeah, big fucking deal. You got the bad reffing game. Well, guess what? Both teams had to deal with it. We had more yells than you did, Parliament. By the way, Parliament, terrible fucking name. Parliaments are usually loud and rowdy. You guys are more like a fucking Congress. You got all the stock and organization of a going out of business sale. You got
but they got a guy with
equivalent of Charles.
But they got a guy with a neon green suit though.
I do appreciate the Amazon 100% polyester parking vest yellow suit. It is.
Yeah,
it is.
I mean, they got a guy with a neon yellow suit that counts, right?
He's got the megaphone so that the 5 people 10 feet from him can hear him.
I don't know if you noticed, their goals were sponsored by the Nebraska Lottery, which makes a lot of sense because you're about as likely to win the lottery as they are to score on any of their shots. I
like that Cheney. We got our second goal down in their end.
Oh yeah.
I was hoping that he would hit the flip in front of the berm.
He landed the flip.
Grant, I don't think that opposition players know where their supporter section is. I should text Chain that and I just ask him. I'm like,
just run over at the McDonald's sign next time.
Do you think you could hit a Lambo leap up onto the berm? Do you think you can make all the way up there?
I mean, I could not.
No.
A professional athlete, probably. Yeah. Definitely not Cello though. All 5'3" of him.
I don't know. Maybe he's got some springs, bro. I mean, Spud Webb could dunk. But yeah, Spud Webb was 5'7" though. I mean,
he was basketball short.
Yeah. One thing I was gonna say, I almost just said one last thing about the Omaha fans complaining and moaning, but there's probably gonna be more of them. It could be another 2 minutes on here, and we'll find something else to complain about them. Cello skins Dolabella in the 26th minute. Dolabella dives, who's a fucking at least 8 feet taller than Cello, and goes to ground. No call appropriately. Omaha fans boo the call.
I'm not sure Cello can even reach Dolabella's face.
Yeah, fucking delicious. Just scrumptious. More of that, please. But yeah,
so good.
Yeah. Before we get to talk about Cello a little bit more, because I can see we've got some Summer Cut Trev waiting here. John, what was your sort of main takeaway from this game? Anything insightful as far as you're concerned? Anything new or interesting that presented itself, or was it just kind of firing on minimal cylinders? I felt like we didn't even have that many chances, and we still got a result.
I like winning ugly games, and I like winning ugly games on the road. Like, that is, for all we talk about in when things go bad, 3 at home, 1 on the road, going for it and just sneaking away those 3 points on a game where we get outshot, on a game where it's just kind of crappy all around, and just getting those 2 goals.
You steal a win.
Bringing the points. That's what you need, right? Like,
all about those key performance indicators, as Matt says. And we found out that possession is not a key performance indicator. Neither are shots.
No.
So,
as always, goal. At least get me the 1 goal. Anything else on that, but tired of 0-goal games. So long as we always get the one, we at least have the chance at the win, right? So.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, John, thanks so much for joining us today. Always a pleasure chatting with you. We'll see you next time.
Yep. See you.
All right. Summer Cut Trev, what's shaking, buddy?
There he is, SCT.
Can't hear you, buddy.
Still can't
No,
hear you. Let's
still
talk
can't.
real quick while Trev's got that figured out.
Okay.
Cheney came up with another big performance, especially in light of, what we were able to do overall. He had 2 of his 2 shots on target. So he literally was the other 2 shots outside of Aiden's shot. Though he did get beat on most duels, which he didn't have, like he did not win a whole lot. This was kind of a scrappy game. We know how this works playing at Werner Park. What do you make of his recent form? And is he going to kind of be the linchpin for this Madison team when he plays? Like, obviously the rest of the team picked up, not really his slack, because I'm talking about him winning duels. Like, the aerial duels are what we expect him to win, right? And he can defend, though that's not his main role that he's, called upon to do. But even if he has a bad game, he still is working hard to grind out a result. You guys think he's going to kind of still be, at least in the final third, a sort of go-to player?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, as I think you saw with the goal he scored, I think you saw why. But bodies Delabelle, off of him, gets the ball, turns in a tight corner, and just puts the ball in the, in an angle that, is a pretty impossible angle to hit. I mean, the only way you score that is you kick it as hard as you can and hope that, it goes in the spot that you want it to, and it did. And so
And he did it with the outside of his boot.
I know he did. And that's just a great piece of class. And just, I think that just shows you what he can do and what he's capable of. And the timing of it couldn't have been better. I mean, because you're happy getting out of Omaha with a point. And then at that point, now all of a sudden you're looking at this, you're like, we're going to get out of this with 3 points. So, clutch performance from him. And he's going to continue to be one of the main guys for this club.
Yeah. I mean,
which is why we got it.
He's a dangerous guy, and everyone knows it. Every single team knows it. And every single team has basically got a guy on Cheney at all times. And
I think
if we can turn the game into a 10v10, I think we got more class behind Cheney than any other team has.
Yeah. And I think what you saw with Delabelle's actions, I think that's in direct result because of Cheney. He knows he can't physically, hang with him. So he's got to do that to try and see if he's going to get calls to maybe prevent Cheney from playing the game he wants to play.
Yeah.
And so, but as we saw, it's like the ref was like, nah, man, you're going to have to stay up tonight. So, because I'm not calling it. But
let's come back to Cheney's goal. I want to talk with Trev about Cello, who self-professed cello stan Summer Cut Trev said multiple times he's his favorite player on the team, even on an off night. Because let's be honest, he had an off night last night, at least as far as the stats are concerned. Still pulled a 7.7 rating on FOTMob. It seemed to me like he played more of a deeper lying pivot role this game, focusing a lot more on recoveries and distributing from those recoveries. Trevor, what did you make of his performance last night?
You still ain't working, buddy.
Oofta.
This is why you test beforehand.
You want to try disconnecting and reconnecting? We'll try that. We'll cover Cheney's goal real quick. So Grant, you kind of alluded to it. It was again against the run of play. He beats Dolabella to receive the ball and then immediately turns and pokes it home. Not like, because it looked like he got it like kind of with the front of his foot, like with his toe, but on the outside of his boot. But like, it's not a common thing to poke a ball home, but get it upper 90 at the same time.
That's what I was saying. I'm like, that the shot that he put in, it's like, there's probably only, from the angle he was in, there we go. There probably was only like one spot that he could have put that in, and he hit it. So, an amazing piece of skill by Chain, you know, and it's just what he does. You know, he's a bad man.
That he is. Trevor, mic working now?
Yeah, I think so. I set up my new computer this week, so kind of moved some stuff around. New camera, same headset, but the audio was trying to go through my camera, so wasn't working. To get back to your question about Cello, I think that has to do with the defensive changes this game. Timmy Mel didn't play, and so Sam Brotherton came back. I wondered if that was an intentional play on Matt's part to kind of have Cello stay back with a shifting defensive line, and see if he could help them out with recovery and distribution, as you said, rather than kind of putting him more in a midfield passer role to get him that assist. I don't know if you remember this, but the first seance that you guys had, I talked about two players. I talked about Cello and I talked about Stephen Payne.
Yep.
So Stephen Payne, who I said looked really, really good running up that sideline, looked really, really good running up that sideline this game.
Oh yeah.
Was trying to take credit for everything.
Hey, every single player I've talked about being good has been good at least once, okay? It's bound to happen, but also, you know,
Next time he's gonna say, "Oh man, you guys got to look out for this dude Christian Chaney." Oh my God.
I have not mentioned Christian Chaney yet. I have mentioned Chichero the time that he scored a goal. I mentioned Payne, Martinez, and we'll see if Eric Connerty ever gets a throw in one of these games. And if he has 2 assists, then you'll be able to see maybe I am actually a genius. But I did want to come back on something that you guys said with Burn Shipman, because I don't know if it was Andrew or Grant, but Mitch and I talked about this yesterday, and I said Burn Shipman didn't play fantastic yesterday. And Mitch said, well, he didn't really need to. Like, you know, we played, I think, a similar game to the time that we played Greenville when we won 4-1.
Yep.
If you remember, the splits in possession were almost exactly the same. Greenville took so many more shots than we did. I think we scored 4 goals on 6 shots. So same shooting percentage on shots on goal.
Yeah.
And the only 2 differences in that game were the people on the pitch. So, you know, Sam Brotherton was playing today rather than Timmy Mel, and then Nazim was hurt, so Jaden Onan was playing.
No, Jaden didn't play in this game either.
No. I mean,
Yeah, got it.
So Jaden was playing in the Greenville game. He didn't play this game. Nazim Bartman was in that kind of same position.
Yeah.
But it kind of just really shows, and Mitch and I talked about this a few days ago, how deep the roster is when you have a guy who I think scored the highest FOTMOB of anybody so far this season in Jaden Onan on your team sitting on the bench.
Yep. Yeah.
So it helps that Burned is, I'll agree, probably a top 3 goalie in the league. I think Austin Pack is number 1. Like, just he's the best goalie in the league. And then you have the guy from Northern Colorado. I can't remember his name, but
Delgado.
Yes. Edward Delgado.
I think Bernd is better than Delgado personally. I think Delgado's been carried a lot by his defense and how Northern Colorado is their tactical formations. I think that Bernd is a better keeper.
Yeah, I would agree that Byrne is probably a more skilled keeper, but it's a team sport, and it does help that he has a really good team in front of him. And then I just think Austin Pack is up here still. I don't think anybody's kind of quite touching him at this point yet.
Yeah.
But it was a good game. And would you believe if I said I didn't watch it?
Yes.
100%.
Man,
Uh,
we own ESPN Plus. So
Yeah, I was following it on Twitter as it was happening, and yeah, it was a good game. Saw the highlights, saw the lowlights. But I'm here so I won't get fined. I'm Marshawn lynching because we won, and I promised I'd always call in when we won.
There you go.
So, Trev, so you don't have ESPN Plus?
No,
Oh,
I do have.
you
It's funny.
you could have watched this game on
Absolutely.
TV 14.
That's true.
So
Because this was one of the games that they broadcasted on local television.
I funnily enough, I have MLS TV, which I think Mitch takes more advantage of than I do.
I absolutely do.
But I got MLS TV free through T-Mobile. But yeah, I don't I don't want to watch 95, 100 minutes of a 2-1 game. But
Maybe if you were down
also-
at the Forward Club, you'd actually have some fun.
yeah. But I was about to say I'd probably enjoy it more if I was hanging out with people watching it. Then I gotta like travel and get in my car and drive. And
I have 2 words to say to that. Boo hoo.
I was hoping
You went to Breeze with me anyway to watch freaking Isthmus City get
Shout out.
absolutely skunked yesterday. 7-0.
That was
Woof.
that was a terrible game. That was some of the worst soccer I've ever seen, and I've seen some pretty bad soccer in my time.
One thing I did want to bring up after Cheney's goal, Omaha fans, were they booing Cheney or their own players?
Yes.
Yeah, I was literally about to say the same thing, Grant. Pork into
Yes.
Like
they're booing the entire situation in general, Andrew.
it's just like it's crazy because like I look at I sent Mitch, if you look in the chat, I sent over the game flow. The XG for Omaha is like 2.5.
Yeah. I mean when you get
0.67.
When you get as many chances in the box as they had, if you watch back the second half, go and look at how many passes they got in the middle of the box that they sent flying over the crossbar. Like, it's insane. And you know why that is? There's really one really, really easy thing to point to. It's that every single one of those shots was bouncing on the infield before they came to the boot, and they just went whoop, over the crossbar.
I have a topical story about this. So you guys might not know this, but I played baseball for a really long time down in Texas where I grew up, and a town just west of my town called Weatherford had a fairly good Little League baseball team. You know, they go pretty far in the Texas tournament for like qualifying for the Little League World Series. And one of the reasons they were so good in the qualifying rounds is because they had a home field advantage with their field that only they knew to take care of. I didn't learn until I started like working with my brother who was playing baseball at a pretty high level and like scouting fields going around. Their foul poles were 5 feet left of their third and first base like lines. So
they curved out.
Yeah, rather than being perfect like 90-degree angle, they ended up just being slightly bigger, and they had so many players that would just hit it down that line, and then the umpires that were usually only one or two, one at home plate and then one behind second base, would see that landed left of the foul pole and call a fair ball, despite the fact that it would be 2 or 3 feet technically over the first or the third base line.
That's insane.
If you have that home field advantage, why are you not taking advantage of it? The fact that you have a small field, get some big fucking dudes and just bully your way through the center of the field. If you can't push outside like you would normally be able to on a wider field, take advantage of the middle. take advantage of and John is in here saying that's what they did every year before now.
Yeah.
And Mitch is saying that
coach.
their new coach.
Yeah.
I 100% agree. The fact that they're not taking advantage of half of their games being on a field that nobody else is used to is asinine.
And I think that's part of why they tried to do with this formation is exactly what you're saying. Is they knew that our approach was to put a bunch of dudes in the middle and attack from the middle, and they were trying to combat that. And if it says anything, I think it shows you it's just like our midfield is better than theirs.
Yeah, and
and so
Sun Tzu, I don't know if he actually said this, but it sounds like something he would say. If you are making concessions to your opponent before the battle starts, you have already lost.
Oh, he said that. Yeah, that's in The Art of War.
Yeah. I've read The Art of War before. It's been a few decades, but I figured, if you are at your home field and you are already making the decision to try and combat your opponent rather than attack them, you have lost any previous advantage that you've had. And in fact, have probably given some of it away due to the fact that you're not playing your game anymore.
Yeah.
And we've seen this throughout the course of the season too, to accentuate Mitch's point. We've seen the ball roll and be rolling and then bouncing as it's rolling across the pitch when it gets by the infield and stuff. So
there was one particularly awful point where Grant and I just turned to each other during the game and we're just like, the fuck was that?
We noticed it. Mitch and I noticed it when we went to Omaha earlier this season. It was a really windy day, so the ball was pushing from the wind was blowing from east to west. So any shot from west to east was getting caught in the wind, and then one of those shots just got caught and then bounced the other direction.
I think you're thinking of a game we watched on TV. That was a USL Championship game.
That might also be it too, but
I think that was at Colorado Springs or something. But I don't think that was in Omaha.
Correct me. It sickens me.
All right, Trev, we are rounding an hour. Thank you for calling in. Any other sort of final thoughts on performances this week? I mean, I like that you called in Stephen Payne. He created all of our chances in this game and got both the assists.
He was man of the match.
Maybe what can we expect more from him?
I think I don't want to say he broke out because he's actually been playing really well this season. I think with that shorter field, he had a really good advantage going up those sidelines because the passes didn't take as long to get to him from midfield. So it's hard to cover on that short field a really, really good through ball over to the corner because then he doesn't have to cross as far. He doesn't have to run as far inside after he gets the ball. So it's a good game for him. I don't know if he'll be able to replicate it this week, but see similar ideas passing over to him, going up the line, trying to cross. I feel like they've created a few chances this year with him going up the line. Also, if you guys just going to shout out Forward Madison, this game, Saturday, June 3rd, Pride game, go support your team, support the LGBT plus community. Tickets for non-season ticket holders include a Pride scarf. Go talk to your ticket manager. Michael is fantastic. Give him a call and say, hey, I'd love to go get some tickets and support the LGBT plus community in Madison.
Brilliant.
I thought I was the guy who worked for the team.
Not
it's a team effort.
This week. It's still hanging out back there. I don't know if you can see.
The team effort, Mitch. You know this.
Yeah. Right. Little rainbow flag hanging out back there as I.
Yeah, and where's your Omaha posters, buddy?
They're currently.
That was a joke.
I was hoping he had like them as the liner underneath like a rodent cage of some kind.
That would actually be great. Hey, you got
we
some stuff
have
for Levi.
rats and rabbits and a rabbit at this house.
There you go. Everybody needs a little liner for the bottom of the cage. Anyway, Trevor, thank you so much for joining us. We're gonna wrap this one up. We'll talk to you hopefully next time.
Shalom, amigos.
All right. Always great to chat with Trevor, even if he's completely bullshitting his way through the game that he didn't watch.
Summer cut Trev, man. Hey, it's like you've seen that video with Spice Adams, man. You get that haircut, the confidence level just goes through the roof. So maybe a little too much, but
to wrap up today's seance, I wanted to talk to a couple of cameo players. Robert Display, Robert Screen is his anglicized version of his name is pronounced, came in for Nazim, did really well. I feel like for 10 minutes, had 2 out of 2 tackles, 2 out of 2 ground duels. How do you think that he's going to keep getting more sort of off the bench time through the rest of this season?
I think if he can do what he did, and that is to just go in and be a water bug.
Yeah.
And just annoy the shit out of the other team for the last 20 minutes or however long he came in. That's great. That's a great role for him. Because he can do that. He's really good at it. I think he's stronger than, he's not the biggest guy, but I think he's very strong for his size, and he's fearless, as we saw. He'll go into tackles. He'll put a leg in. So I think this is a good spot for him to really kind of carve out a little role on the club. And we've already given him a nickname of, so it's like he's on his way,
The other player,
Robert Display,
Yeah, what do you make of him, Mitch?
Yeah, I think that as we grow into the season and guys start getting, we need to do some more man management. I think that he'll start getting more and more time. I think that Matt's done a really good job so far in limiting some of these younger guys' minutes. The NCAA, so he's straight out of University of Kentucky. Same thing with Connerty out of Western Michigan, and these younger kids as well, Julio and Tino. These guys can't play. They can't play 70 to 90 minutes a game every game. They just can't. You don't get the level of what's the word I'm looking for? These guys play a lot less in the NCAA.
You don't get the level of like your body fortitude where your body can take the punishment.
It's gonna take a year of professional practices and games to get that conditioning to where it needs to be. So these guys aren't going to be able to, do it for a whole season. But they can certainly help out some of these guys later in the year for sure. When we need a guy, just have a day off or whatever, if we can just slot in a Robert Screen or an Eric Connerty wherever we need to, that's fantastic. And if Robert, if his thing is going to be he plays 10, 20 minutes every single game, just comes off the bench and just annoys the crap out of every single player on the other team, perfect. If that's the role that he can do, and that's the role that Matt wants him to have, and he can do that game in, game out, then great. But I think this is I think in the future he won't have this sort of role. I think that this is you're in year one, we're early in the season, we've got guys ahead of you already, and we need you to work on your conditioning regardless. But we think, this is a spot that you can do. This is something you can do. He's filling it so far. So we'll, I think he's going to be a guy to watch. And maybe he comes back next year and he's one of our guys starting on the back line. So
yeah. One thing I wanted to also call out that Wolfgang Amadeus Prentice has also cameoed in every single game he's been he's been listed in the 18 since being loaned. I have to imagine he's going to keep getting playing time, especially in June. We have 6 league games in the month of June. It's about to get real congested and busy over the next month. One thing I do want to touch on real quick before we kind of pack it in for today is that things I feel like potentially could have gone differently in this game. Joe Gallardo actually went out injured in the 20th minute. And it's not like, Omaha were creating a ton of chances before he left the game, but I feel like things could have gone differently. We know he's dangerous. We know he's what he's capable of as a player. Do you guys think that the scoreline would have been different had he stayed in the game?
No.
I mean, it might have been 2-2. But no, I don't see that they did anything defensively that would have stopped us from scoring the 2 goals that we did.
I mean, Steven Dos Santos is a very good player in his own right.
Yeah.
At least he should be. I think that there shouldn't be the level of drop off that maybe you would expect from a starter to a backup at that level. I mean, Dos Santos started, every game at the start of the season. I think this was Gallardo's first or second start.
Mm-hmm.
He just came back in from I think he was injured to start the season. I don't think it's as big of a drop off as maybe Omaha fans would like it to be seen as. This is no. I think scoreline stays the same if Gallardo's out there. I mean, he didn't do anything in the 15-20 minutes he was out there. I don't see any reason to believe that it would be any different.
You mean, bud?
Any closing thoughts today before we head out? Call it a day, as it were.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're gonna this coming week. We've got Fresno coming to town this weekend. This is a test. After winning a big game like this, historically, we've come back and we've looked flat, and we've done it this year. Great win against North Carolina. We looked flat against,
Colorado.
And then, so don't look past this team. Go into this with the same approach that you've gone into with the games of like Omaha and Greenville and those games. I mean, go get this win. These are 3 points. We're at home. You've got a real good chance in this month to make a move up the table and to establish where you're going to be. Start it off right. Go get these 3 points.
Yeah.
So
I agree. And I don't think they will look past it just because I don't think Cheney's going to let them look past it.
Right.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way.
Is Cheney against his old team that, for better or worse, I think that he's still got some bad blood feeling for that team, and he wants it. He wants a hat trick. He wants a poker. Yeah. He wants to just lay it on him. We'll see if that happens, but we know he's going to bring the intensity regardless of how the rest of the team looks. I think that the rest of the team will follow suit, and I think that Cheney's going to be practicing. He's going to be going a little bit harder in practice.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be pushing the rest of the guys too.
Yeah.
Also, really quick, want to shout out the Omaha Parliament. Maybe if your owner spent more to keep his coach and had a field where the players aren't constantly shooting the ball over the bar because it's bouncing on the field, maybe it'd be better instead of spending that money on smoke fines and baby's first drumline. So that's all I got to say. And if you're mad about it, it's just banter, bro. Why you got to be mad? That's what you say to us, right?
Well, you know what? I think we'll just leave it there.
That's it. I got nothing. That's great.
Everybody have a great week. And as Grant always says,
be easy, everybody.
Hi, this is Stephen Payne, and this is New Dog Mazine. Up the Mingos.